This game starts peaceful, just like this Italian game, but it explodes into life very soon. I did not expect this. Hans Niemann with white, he's like an atomic bomb in the chess world right now, and his opponent, Gukesh D, just 17 years old, but already a super grandmaster, outrates Hans Niemann. But watch this. This game is nuts, but don't assume the result, by the way. Anything can happen when Niemann's at the board. So these are some standard opening moves of a quiet Italian. C3 looks for D4 later. A6 gives the bishop a bit of room to tuck back. We get A4, Niemann gaining space. The bishop tucks back. Now rook E1. H6, standard little bunny ears move. You often see white do the same. A5 takes more space, and look at the evaluation bar. Technically, already the computer prefers black. Niemann really mixing things up in his games. And now Gukesh is the first one to take the fight to Hans. He goes pawn G5. Love to see it. Look at how he wants to attack. So bishop E3 intercepts this long-ranged weapon, and after G4, the knight tumbling back to D2, blocking the development of this one. After takes on E3, Niemann does not take the solid and steady approach here with rook takes on E3, but he recaptures with the pawn, opening the F-file, looking for some nasty stuff in combination with this bishop. So knight H7 responds to the threat. Now if rook F1, there's knight G5, covers the square, but it was the preference of the computer. Then go D4, look for the central counterplay against this flank attack. But Hans goes his own way here with knight to F1. And it's a very risky idea, because after pawn H5, he goes knight G3, putting his knight in the firing line of these foot soldiers, and after queen G5, he hasn't even got this move available without shedding a pawn. But what's his idea? Because he just goes knight D2 here, says do your worst, push the pawn. Gukesh didn't do it, but if it was played, here's the counterplay idea. You slide the rook, the queen goes, and you're recouping a pawn, plus stopping the king from castling. So H4 not yet played. Gukesh goes knight E7 to cover the square, but he just misses some of the counterplay he could have generated with bishop D7, allowing queen B3, hitting two pawns, but castling queenside with a nice attack against white. Double-edged game. Instead, knight E7 played. And it's a bit responsive to Hans's threats, because now you get queen A4 check, C6 blocks it out, and queen B4. Great sense from Niemann that he should bring this queen away from the defence and generate counterplay against this queenside here. So the D pawn's attacked. What to do? Well, we get H4 first. The knight jumps to F5 here. Now there's a deviation in the position here, you know, a fork in the road. You can take with the knight. It's the computer's preferred move. But this one is not too far behind. You do have to chop that knight. Now we get pawn recaptures. D5, and things are getting very tactical. You know, you can take this pawn already. Hit the rook. Then black castles the king. Connects the rooks, the bishop has to retreat. It's a different game, but black gains time there to start attacking white. So instead, Niemann drops back the bishop to b3, and now Gukesh plays a move that the engine hates. It wants the castle queenside here. Cover the pawn like that, and then you just get a very interesting game. You know, there's no time for e4, cementing the pawn, or the knight drops on d2. No time for rook f1, or the e-pawn drops. Interesting themes going on here. But castle's queenside, not played. We get castle's kingside, and the engine hates it, but only for one very specific attacking idea. Now, it's not taking this pawn. If you do so, the idea is not actually this one. You know, the knight does cover the bishop, but this is the sneaky move. You just cover this knight and you free up the queen to capture this pawn, plus this knight can now come to f6 without blocking the queen's defense of e7. Again, no e4, this one drops. If you go rook e2 to cover, now we go here and capture the pawn. It's a different game, it's exciting. But what we saw, instead of queen takes on b7, was the absolute best move. Well done if you found it. Rook to a4. What a majestic way to activate that rook. Look at the way they scythe across this rank of the board and what to do. Hans is taking a flamethrower to these foot soldiers, overextended, no time for knight f6 defending. Queen takes here, you interrupt the defense. So what to do? Well, we see pawn g3 played here. Now this one drops off the board. We don't get takes with check. It actually allows the queen and rook to swap their position and you start attacking. So the queens come off the board, rook recaptures, now takes with check, rook takes back, and now you want to pick up this pawn here. What happens if knight takes? Well, the themes are the same as they were even when the queens were on the board and that kind of thing. This is the problem. e4 comes, and there's big problems with defending all of these central pawns. You know, if you take here, well, now the rook activates. You're hitting this pawn. No f6 because of the bishop. So you can defend with the rook, but then you start checking, you start attacking the king, you know, the knight's galloping in, there's threats here and here, f6, but then rook h3 covers any forward knight jumps, and white just builds this huge initiative. The rooks are soon going to be piling up, all kinds of problems. This one is a monster. So we didn't get the knight capturing, instead we see f6. Gukesh just trying to cement that centre, hold everything together. But e4 comes anyway, no time to take, there's a pin. So we get rook f7 now played, now knight f3 activating, rook g7. This is Gukesh's counterplay idea, but this is a great move. Hans just explodes the centre now with pawn to d4. Excuse me. And because you're threatening to win a pawn on d4, we get captures, but now it activates this steed. Look at that weakened e6 square. So knight g5 covers, but now we get pawn takes on d5, the knight recaptures, and this rook invades into the position. So many weaknesses for black. Exposed king, white dominating the open files. Now there is a threat to win the f-pawn. You know, the knight is pinned, which is defending. So king f7 covers the f-pawn, king f1, nice prophylaxis, stepping away from any pins, no time for knight f3 check. You know, the knight was covering, but what if it moves one day? This is the move that Hans wants. Gukesh now doubles the rooks, and now c4, the knight drops back, c5 check, the knight comes back, and now after bishop takes on d5, giving up that great piece, but allowing this move of knight e6, Gukesh resigns the game after 35 moves. This is incredible. Now, why did he resign in this position? Well, the rook is attacked on g7. So let's explore the obvious. What if you take that one? Well, then there's rook recaptures, not pawn takes, and even though black can crash through here, it's actually a huge mistake because you take with check with that rook, drive the king to the g-file, and then this one drops. So not that you had to take this pawn, but what else to do? This is collapsing, this is weak. White's doing great. So that's one line to show, and if you try and save the rook, well, it can't come here. What if it comes here? Well, now you take with check, that's the key. However you recapture, doesn't matter, you shed an entire piece. And if you do nothing, well, you lose an exchange. Still, white's got a huge winning position here. You know, it's game over. Hans Niemann, his chess right now is out of this world. Sometimes he loses, but very exciting stuff. If you enjoyed this one and want to see another epic game of chess, check out the video on screen. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Cheers.